We are back. This is Open Mic, and our two guests are Dr. Charles and Dr. Stephen King. Thank you.
If I may follow on to Stephen's point, the presence of the medical schools and the linkage to the health system abounds in many, many ways. One, as he mentioned, the whole issue of the transfer of knowledge is a critical aspect to the local environment. Secondly, having the medical school that has to meet certain standards based on the accreditation will raise the quality of care delivered to local citizens. Not only at the hospital, because in our case, we expect our students to be out in the community. So it assists in raising the quality at the level of the secondary or primary care also, and tertiary care. So St. Lucians will end, by definition, benefit. The other issue is with your tourism product.
Right.
Major contribution once it's established and you having the new hospitals, both at Victoria and St. Jude's, the opportunity for medical tourism, both for your own citizens who are overseas and the citizens who may want to come and relax and have some procedure done, elective procedure, with the capacities at the hospitals. And you've got to begin, because you've got to link your tourism product to medical tourism.
Correct.
So there are many opportunities. And with that linkage between the medical schools and the universities to the health system, I think there's a win-win situation for the schools and for the health system and for the country as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely no question.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the thing is to have that vision of something. I admire St. George's University for their visioning from the very beginning to be that kind of large education force for development in Grenada. I found that there's a lot to be learned from there, and I think but I think we can do better than that. I think that in St. Lucia we can actually do even better than St. George's if we just can envision it and put our
because you can learn from them.
We learn from them.
You build on it.
And we build. And you know, I think now you said something earlier, Mr. Chasney, about you know, that education is really our future in terms of economy.
Yeah.
And I think that is very profound, because it is clear that we cannot continue to depend on the traditional drivers in our economy anymore. We must maintain them. And because when I say we cannot depend, doesn't mean you discard them. It means you maintain them.
But you enhance it.
You enhance it by bringing in new products. And medical education, although it's not new, we've had it for a while, but we have not given it the kind of attention, the kind of policy
because of the technology that's available out there.
Yes.
Every day the technology is changing so quickly, you know. I mean, look at the evasive surgery. I mean, you're a doctor, you should know. Whereas you'd go and spend 6 days at the hospital there, you go in the morning, you come out in the afternoon. I mean, I had a friend recently who had major surgery on the neck. And whereas you need 5 days at the hospital, he went in at 12 o'clock in the day, Sandra, and he was out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's no reason why we cannot bring those kinds of what we would traditionally call first world type services into our part of the world. There's no reason why not. The only thing that stops us, I think, is really the way we think and not coming together in a unified approach in terms from a national point of view to drive and get the resources to bring.
And I think, you know, the understanding the economics of it is going to be very important. And you know, you have to see this product as any other product that you may give incentives for, but understand how the returns come back to you. I mean, I remember when I was in government, we started a public health orthodontic program, and you'd be surprised to know how many of our own citizens who were living overseas came for that service because it was less costly.
Yes.
The quality was, because we actually had an orthopedic surgeon who was Guyanese, and he came under, at that time, the UNDP program called Top 10, in which they allowed or permitted, they supported the transfer of knowledge in those days. This was in the 80s. And so it was a Guyanese orthopedic surgeon setting up the system, bringing the service of a good quality. And Guyanese came home, they saw their relatives, they had the thing, but we had to put some controls in it. So there are many opportunities.
You know what interests me? how did you all produce so many pharmacists? We couldn't live in these islands without the Guyanese pharmacists.
Well, you know, there was a commitment to education across the board.
It's
at that
unbelievable.
time.
Yeah.
But there is a demand for pharmacists
All over.
globally.
And look at India, for instance. The India cosmetic surgery is 1/3 the price in India it is in the US. Also in Brazil. So you have drones of people going both to those countries there, and they're benefiting from it. And what happens is that the doctors who started it over in the States have only gone down there because it's less expensive to live in those countries, and you don't have all that paraphernalia, this what they call insurance you require for when something goes wrong. You know what I mean? What's it called? The health insurance.
Health insurance,
Yes.
life
Yeah.
insurance.
Health insurance.
Health
Yeah,
insurance.
which is very right now. I mean, I have brothers who are doctors in the States. It can cost up to $50,000, $60,000, $70,000
But
US a year.
The economics of it is that when you're setting up in St. Lucia, you've got to set up the system to communicate with the outside world in terms of the transfer of money, etc.
Right.
So you can't say, well, I'm not taking credit cards, I'm not taking this.
Correct.
You know, you've got to be flexible within the financial and economic environment, understanding that they are going to be, you got to look at the safeguards, etc. But I think,
You know, Richard, you're right, because the whole thing about the Chamber of Commerce is the ease of doing business. And it's important that when we set up these businesses, the incentives are such that it allows business to be done easily. But I wanted to bring another point for the public to think about. Also, what we want to do is create better access to education for our locals. So we have young people looking to be educated. They need to be trained, they need opportunities, they need jobs. They don't have the financial resources to go overseas to get training in health in the various medical disciplines of medical
And
education.
other forms of
And other
education, yeah.
So you see, if we had that kind of power right here, we could actually, as we are doing now to a certain extent, afford St. Lucians opportunity to get education at a much cheaper rate. One, they're at home. Secondly, we can incentivize education by the schools giving certain scholarships to our youth.
well, we are committed, in
You're
that.
so right about that. Excuse me for 1 minute. Both Mr. Stewart of Sanders and a young finance company called Axel, who have businesses in Grenada, have told me in the recent times the standard of education to people there is so much higher than St. Lucia. As a matter of fact, Sanders was so impressed with the level of education in Grenada that while he was constructing, he sent at least 50 Grenadians abroad to Jamaica, St. Lucia, to learn how to do the hotel business, especially the call centers, and it is unbelievable how well they have turned out. As a matter of fact, right here in St. Lucia, he has some 140 individuals in the call center, and he's hoping to put up a call center in Grenada to employ some 300 people.
Sure.
Now, all from the training they got at St. George's.
Sure.
And there was a gentleman called Mr. Miller, who used to be the manager of Royal Bank here in St. Lucia for many years. And he's retired. He's a Grenadian, or Canadian-Grenadian, should I say. And he was here last week. And he has become a consultant for Axel Finance. And he told me that their office in Grenada is so well run that the owner does not even have to come down here. And he's become a consultant traveling and may want to bring 1 or 2 Grenadians around to be able to head the office and train St. Lucian. And all that came from the university.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say too that
Yeah.
in the case of St. Helen, by definition,
Yes.
all St. Lucians attending St. Helen University have a 50% scholarship.
Okay.
All.
Why?
Well, because we're here, we believe that we must contribute.
So who makes that contribution? To the
St. Helen University.
itself?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
wonderful. I didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So there is
That's a plus. And they are their home, they're getting
That's
their
right.
contribution. So there's really no need not to educate yourself.
no.
You know, there's another area that I think universities can make a great contribution to us. It's in the area of our policy development and knowledge development for action in the country. So for instance, recently I was talking to Dr. Satcher, the former U.S. Surgeon General of the United States, right? And we were talking here about developing models for diabetes management in St. Lucia that could be exported to the rest of the world. The point here being the universities can do research and they can do development of processes, which is really medical technology. We can do that from the universities in our situation, not only that, therefore benefiting our local environment, but also exporting our models to other countries. This is one of his dreams, and he's actively engaged with us on that. But that is given so much power when you have a universities of international standard here on the soil in St. Lucia.
No, you see, the country would have a national research agenda. Clearly, the universities should, by definition, be involved supporting the whole national research agenda of St. Lucia. And the other thing is, the development of science and technology in St. Lucia goes beyond merely the health system. And the primary schools, the secondary schools, right, they should be exposed to the university labs, yes, during the summer, correct, creating possibilities for young people to deepen their knowledge in different areas. So I think there are so many benefits in terms of that linkage between the university and the wider environment,
and you know, you're so right. You are so right, because as you know, I mean, I've heard it from Dr. King and other doctors that we have a very high diabetic rate in St. Lucia. Now, I'm not saying there is probably a level of ignorance is too harsh a word, of understanding of them, and you know, something like that here, people will be tuned into what is going on. You know, they can realize straight away, look, hey, my health, I have these symptoms, I need to deal with it right away, and they deal with it. Sure. And that's a saving by itself. For sure.
Yeah. And you know, back to, from RISE point of view, the NGO that I'm one of the founders, we always hold on to what Sir Arthur Lewis said, the fundamental cure for poverty is not money, but knowledge. And this is what universities create, knowledge. Sure. And if we were to, as you said, really create an environment that drives and pulls from the university as much knowledge as we can, that in fact is how, or one of the fundamental ways of addressing poverty. Because it's really, you said it a little while ago, Michael, that you know, diabetics in St. Lucia suffer because they don't understand
the ailment,
the disease.
Correct.
And how they have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that lack of knowledge, yeah, will keep them in poverty.
Yeah, because it's costly.
It's costly, yeah, and it's costly to the point where it can cost your life. Yeah. And it's so important. Yes.
But more so, we have
to take a break. We'll be back shortly.